Stand up, New York Giants fans.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a yell. It got a little better last week. I got to yell several times throughout the game, as we do every time the New York Giants score a touchdown. But some good to take out of last game. Of course, none of it matters when you lose. 0-2 start. But obviously, the Giants offense looked a lot better, about as good as we've seen the Giants offense in probably over a year, I would think. I mean, we put up 37 points against the Dallas Cowboys on the road. Of course, the defense lacked a lot. Of course, Owen caught a lot of slack after the game, rightfully so. As the Giants dropped 0-2, we're all too familiar with that, Baddog. And now we got Pat Mahomes and the 0-2 Kansas City Chiefs, desperate for a win, staring us in the face on primetime week 3. But good to see you, man.
Always good to do this show. Glad to have it back. And Sunday was we've had a lot of those as Giants fans. It seems like more than we've had good ones. Now, of course, 2007, we definitely had a good one. 2011, we had a couple of really good things go our way. Remember Tynes missing a couple field goals and kicking the long one to send us to the Super Bowl, the helmet catch, the pass to Manningham. We've had some really good ones, but we've seen the miracle in the Meadowlands too. Dex jumping off sides. Gano's 64-yard field goal, whatever the hell it was, to beat us years ago. Elliott's 61-yard field goal. And this time again, looked like we had it, and our hearts ripped out. This happened in 2014 or 2015. Same thing. Giants were big. Romo went right down, scored a touchdown with like no time to go. It just seems like that's been Giants football lately. Russ was fantastic. I was so happy for him, and I thought he'd won us the game, but I knew there was 25 seconds and 3 timeouts. They didn't have to go very far to get a field goal because Aubrey can kick like nobody we've ever seen. It felt like Shane Bowen needed to play like the 50-yard line was the end zone, and he didn't. Then we ended up losing.
Yeah, something we've become all too familiar with. They find a way to lose the game. Definitely felt like I mean, I honestly didn't think they were going to win that game until I saw Russ hit the touchdown, and then I thought they're going to win. I understand the reluctancy to go over the top, but 24 seconds left, 19 seconds after the kickoff return, then they get I think it was a penalty or incomplete rather, set with 14 seconds left. You have to win that football game. But it is what it is. They're the Giants. They found a way to lose. The offense then became stagnant in the overtime period, and we are where we are. There's some pros. Bo looked fantastic. As we said, the offense obviously looked much better than they did week 1, and we'll see if they can continue that. A much tougher test this week for the offense. As we talked about on our Giants Collective show, I think it's going to be a complete reversal this week. I see this as a good matchup for the Giants defense, which is funny to say, going up against Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid. Not to say that I think we're shutting this team out, but I don't think that this offense is going to put up 40 points in this Giants defense. I just think that they're not the Chiefs of old, at least right now. I feel like they're struggling a bit offensively. If there's any team that's worse with running the football so far, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I know I have Isaiah Pacheco on my fantasy team, and he's done nothing. It might be the Kansas City Chiefs. They lack explosive weapons, especially with Worthy being questionable. So I do think the defense will keep us in this game this week, but I don't expect a repeat performance from the Giants offense. And I hope they prove me wrong, but the Chiefs defense is very talented, and their best player, I think, is going to tear apart our interior offensive line. That, of course, being Chris Jones, but we'll find out, man. That's why they play the game Sunday night. We're going to say hello to a bunch of our regulars. Dyer Giants fan in the chat, Derek in the chat, Raphael Doolin in the chat, Lizzie in the chat, Mark Hernandez in the chat, man, thanks for popping in, Jay in the chat, Duran in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Mark's got a quick question. Can you guys answer why we always get holding penalties against us, but never for us when on defense?
It's a great question. I mean, we see it. We saw Abdul Carter get turned around on a hold, and they don't call it. Yeah. I swear to God, when you're a bad team, you just don't get calls. It's the same thing when you're a bad base. When you have a bad eye at the plate, you don't get those borderline calls. If you're a good pitcher, you'll get the borderline strikes. If you're wild, you don't get them. If you're a guy like Wade Boggs who had a great eye at the plate, if it's borderline and you don't swing, the umpire's like, well, he's got a good eye. It's probably a ball. So it seems like when you're bad, they just figure, well, he must have held. If they protect them that well, there must be a hold somewhere, and they can never get to the quarterback, so there must not be any holding going on. I don't know. It just seems like bad teams have bad plays in opportune times. Look at the game last night, right? Miami's going down. They look like they're going to score the game-tying touchdown, and Tua throws an interception. It's just bad football teams find ways to lose, and I swear you make your own breaks. When you're a bad team, nothing goes your way. Right now, that's the Giants.
Yeah. You pretty much summed up what I would have said. Cruzon, thank you for being here, man. And a great supporter, always watching. Been with me forever. I know he's been with you forever as well. Do you guys believe veterans like Jermaine Illuminor should have the right to stay at right tackle, even if Dable asked him to move to guard rather? Cruzon, I don't think he's moving. We saw last year, if you recall, he didn't outright say he wasn't willing to move, but he wasn't jumping at the bit to move to the left tackle spot, right? I remember he kind of hinted heavily, if I recall, that he didn't want to move. And knowing that it's a contract year for Jermaine Illuminor, knowing that he's played the tackle position his entire career, tackles make more money. I'd be stunned if the Giants moved Jermaine Illuminor to the guard. It may be what's best for the team long term, getting to see Marcus Bowe play that right tackle spot. And maybe you could shift Illuminor to the guard and he could potentially be that long term, or maybe Bowe becomes the guard long term. I don't know. But I'd be stunned if they shift Illuminor from the tackle to the guard, as much as many Giants fans and probably myself would like to see, because I would like to see Bowe continue to grow at the tackle. I do think Illuminor could shift to the guard and probably play effectively, but I don't think it's going to happen. Do I think that the Giants should do it? I mean, in a perfect world, yes, but when you factor in all the variables, the fact he's in a contract year, the fact you don't want to disrupt that offensive line, and Illuminor's been our best offensive lineman thus far this year, not saying a whole lot, but he has been. I don't see the Giants moving him from the right side at the tackle spot.
Maybe next year, maybe if they give him a contract, they want to put Bowe there next year. I can't see him doing it this year.
Yeah.
But Van Roten's 34, 35 years old, and I think he's just on a one-year deal or only has 1 year left. So he obviously isn't going to be our right guard next year. So maybe, going into next year, if you sign Illuminor, you can convince him, hey, we're going to move you to the, talk to him about it. What are you thinking about moving to the guard or whatever? But, it's funny you mentioned Kansas City having a tough time running the football. Pat Mahomes is their leading rusher. So that should tell you all you need to know about how tough it's been. Their offensive line is not really good. Mahomes is constantly running for his life, which is why he's their leading rusher. They have very bad. Their offensive line is not good. And like you said, Chris, they don't have many weapons. Travis Kelce is older now. He's not the player he was. His mind is not on football anymore. This guy's worried about his life with Taylor Swift and all this other stuff. Worthy's injured. Rice is suspended. Mahomes is still Mahomes. I mean, you still got to respect Mahomes no matter who's out there. But if we can get pressure on him and make him throw off spot and make him uncomfortable, you're going to be okay. Defense should keep you in that game. But on the flip side, like you mentioned, Kansas City's defense is very tough. You're going to have to double team Chris Jones. Yeah. There's just no way around it. You're going to have to play a lot of 12 personnel. You're going to have to keep an extra tight end in there. There's just no question about this. You need to do that. You're going to need to have an extra blocker, which means you're not going to have 50 and 60-yard passes to Wan'Dale Robinson and Malik Neighbors. The moon balls will be less. But if you can protect him and you're getting 8-yard gains and it takes you 14 plays to get in the end zone instead of 4, that's fine. So you have to find a way to protect Russ in this game. Otherwise, it's going to be a long night for the offense. It's going to be a long night for the Giants.
And they got to find a way to get the ground game going. We just stated how Kansas City struggled running the ball. We've struggled running the ball just as much. I know that Scatterby had one nice run last week, but outside of that, the run game was non-existent for the most part. And it was the same thing week 1. So the Giants have got to find a way to get some kind of ground game established in this game if they want to stand a chance. Otherwise, I think that defensive line, Karlaftis, Jones, I think they're going to tee off on the New York Giants. Yep. So it's not the same defense we played last week. The Cowboys defense is awful. And I'm not trying to take away from the offensive performance. The Giants had a very impressive offensive performance. Russell Wilson looked like the Russell Wilson of old. Super Bowl winning Russell Wilson. He threw for 450 yards. He was incredible. Wan'Dale Robinson, great game. Malik Neighbors, great game. But Baddog, I mean, I said it on our joint channel. Dude, those guys were running wide. Wan'Dale Robinson was running wide open up the seam countless times throughout the course of that.
Defenders, like they had a deep safety, he ran right by him every time.
Yeah, and the pressure against our Giants offensive line wasn't really there from the Cowboys. So we'll see. I think this will be a much better test to see how improved this Giants offense truly is going up against a good. I wouldn't even call them a great defense at this point, but they're good. Last year they were a great defense, but it's at least a top 10, top 12 defense. So Giants will be put to the test this week. But on the other side, I do think the pass rush will be able to create some damage. So if they're going to win the game, it's pretty obvious. They got to create some turnovers against Pat Mahomes. He's not a guy that's allergic to doing it. If we could create pressure early, I think the Giants stand a good chance to create some turnovers. And I don't want to sound overly optimistic, and I don't want to set false expectations, but I really believe this is going to be a competitive football game. I really think the Giants are going to keep this game close, and I think they'll have a chance to win in the fourth quarter. I'm not going to pick them. I can't pick them. It's very hard for me to imagine the Chiefs dropping 0-3. As mediocre as they've looked thus far, I mean, they've lost to some pretty damn good teams too, right? They lost to the Chargers, who was my preseason Super Bowl pick out of the AFC, and they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. So, you know,
we're defending Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, we're the defending Super Bowl champions. So, you know, they've also played some very tough teams, and those games have been competitive. So, there's a good team. They're still a good team. Their record doesn't represent what they are, but I think the Giants will be able to stick with them and make it a football game.
To your point about their defense, I mean, granted, you know, I did the Super Friends with LB, Lord Brunson, and obviously he's an Eagles fans, and Eagle fans don't like their offensive coordinator. I think he's done a really shitty job. Now, I watched both of their games and definitely was surprised at how lackluster the passing game was against Dallas. Very lackluster. A.J. Brown didn't have a target in the first half. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, there was nothing. Like, it didn't look like the Eagles' offense of old. But, again, that could be their offensive coordinator. It could just be that their offense isn't really firing on all cylinders. But Jalen Hurts only threw for 105 yards against Kansas City, just 105. And Barkley did not. He had only 88 yards rushing.
He didn't have a Barkley game. Yeah, he didn't have a Barkley.
So it's not like their offense did anything, but their defense was the reason they won that football game. So Eagles' offense did just enough, but the defense carried them. And again, it's, you know, it'll be a big test. We're not putting up 37 against Kansas City.
No.
Russ 400 against Kansas City. But if Russ can give you 220 and he can not turn the ball over and we can force turnovers and get a short field, this time if we don't get in the end zone, Dable better take the fucking 3 points against Kansas City. But
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was a bad decision on his part in that game. I'm not going to say that that's why we lost the game. The defense is why we lost the game, but it was a bad decision. I had to say, I pulled up Joey Lutz. I meant to give him a shout out. He was talking about cannoli, so I saw him.
Yeah, in the chat. Joey's been with us forever.
OG, I meant to say hi to him, and I forgot.
The cannoli bros, that's us.
But good to see Joey Lutz in the chat, Scott in the chat, Trey in the chat. Thank you to everybody for being here. B-Rog says, I am hoping for, and of course, Afghanistan and OG. B-Rock and Dyer Giants fan. Come on, man. B-Rock says, I am hoping for a more aggressive scheme that lends to the talents of our defensive players. I mean, I think all Giants fans, especially after last week, want to see a more aggressive scheme. At the end of the day, there's a time and a place for a zone defense. And I think throughout parts of that game, a zone defense was appropriate. At the end of the day, the Cowboys have two incredible weapons on the outside. We don't have the greatest secondary in the world. I understand that you don't want to get beat over the top. But in that spot, when they only need to get 15, 20 yards at most to get in field goal range with arguably the best kicker in the entire league, certainly arguably the biggest leg in the entire league, you can't play off the ball. You have to give the strength of this team, which we all agree is the pass rush, an opportunity to close out the football game. And when you play your corners 20 yards off the line of scrimmage and you give the wide receivers a free trip where they could get to their spot within 2.5 seconds, you're not giving Kayvon Thibodeau a chance to close out the game. You're not giving Brian Burns a chance to close out the game. You have to do it in that spot. You have to give them an opportunity. That's the strength of this team. And that was a massive mistake by Shane Bowen. I don't think anybody would dispute that at this point.
It doesn't make any sense because, like I said, the first play of the drive, they went after him and they got there.
Yeah.
And they knocked the ball away from him and it was incomplete. It's not like Dallas needed a touchdown. If Dallas needed a touchdown, I totally understand that defense. I totally get it. Let them complete underneath, make them use their timeouts, make them throw a Hail Mary to beat you. I totally get that. But when you got Aubrey, who has kicked more 63-yard field goals or whatever the hell it is than anyone in the history of the NFL, and you know the leg he has, you had to play like midfield was your end zone.
Yeah, it was red zone.
You can't just let them, like Chris said, go 18 yards and turn around and catch the ball because they didn't have a chance. At least if you make Dak beat you, make Dak hold on to the ball where they have to use some time to get open. And if they do, you've wasted time. Maybe you get to the quarterback. Maybe he throws a bad pass because he's under duress. But to just sit back there and give Dak the free reign of anybody running, they had 2 timeouts. It's not like they had to use the sideline. They could use any part of the field, and that's exactly what they did. And we ended up losing because of it. So people want to point to Russ's interception in overtime. It should have never even come to that. We wouldn't even be where we were without Russell Wilson in that game. He was amazing in that game.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. Without Russell Wilson, we lose that game by 20 plus. Anybody that's blaming Russ for that loss is out of their mind. You could there's 100 other things you could point to before you even get to Russ. And Russ was the only reason. And Neighbors. I mean, Neighbors. My God.
Wandale was great too.
Wandale was great too. Don't get it twisted. I love Wandale, and but some of the catches, man, that Neighbors made in traffic, both of those touchdown catches were insane. Especially the game winner, man. Talk about all the pressure on the line. You got a hand in your face as you're coming up the wall, like. Dude, one thing you could certainly say about this team, they've got their Odell Beckham at this point. They've got their number one legitimate game-breaking wide receiver. So that's something certainly to be excited about long-term if you're a Giants fan. He's 22 years old. And that's going to be a vital piece, obviously, for Jackson Dart when we inevitably probably get to see him at some point this year. So, yeah, Neighbors was incredible in that game, some of the plays that he made. Danny says, play 12 and 13-man personnel and bring up Elijah Chapman to play fullback. And maybe they do get creative. I don't think they'll call him up, but maybe they do get creative. They use Bellinger in that role a couple of times throughout the game, but they got to do something to get the ground game going, because it hasn't been there. The only really big run they've had all year, they've had 2. One was called back by a penalty. It was the big run by Tracy, and then you had the run this past game, and it was kind of because the defense was thrown through a loop because they brought Jackson Dart into the game, and I think the threat of his legs and probably, the defense wasn't ready for that because they were, game planning there for Russell Wilson. I think that it was a big part of why he sprung that run. They got to do something to try to create some assemblation of a ground game.
Yep, whatever it takes, because you're not going to win in this league if you can't run the ball consistently. You're just not.
Yeah.
It's a passing league, and I get that. But this game will never change. It's been around for over 100 years, and the game is won and lost in the trenches. You win at the line of scrimmage. And if your guy has to throw the ball 50 times, inevitably you're going to lose more than you win, because if you're one-dimensional and teams have no reason to honor your run, they can easily just rush 4 guys. They don't have to bring anybody up in the box if you're getting dominated at the line of scrimmage, which floods the passing lanes. It makes it tough to pass. And when you have to hang on to the ball, eventually the pass rush is going to get there. So if you're able to run the ball, it enhances play action without question. If those linebackers have to take a step up, that's when you hit guys behind the linebackers. You hit the tight end and the seam, and you become more unpredictable. So the Giants have to find a way to run the football, whether that is using trickeration like they did with Jackson Dart, whether that's a misdirection or an end around. You got to find some way to move the ball on the ground. We'll see if Kafka can come up with something, because, like I said, it's going to be very tough to run against Kansas City front.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with our interior offensive line, we know that's not a strength.
Yeah.
John, what's going on, man? Good to see you, John. Hope you're doing well. We are now 9-27 since making the playoffs in 2022. 1-13 in our last 14 games. Since the 6-1 start of 2022, we are 33-1 pit of misery. That's par for the course since the second half of Eli's career, for the most part, John. I mean, it's only gotten worse, as his career, went towards the end. But outside of 1 year, this team and the 15 season, 16 rather, this team's been pitiful. They gave us 2 nice seasons there in the second half of Eli's career onward, but it's been bad, man. And hopefully we get back soon. We'll see. I think there's reason to hope and think that this team is going to get better. I think the good news, Baddog, is regardless of Shane Bowen, this defense is just too good on paper to be this bad. So the defense is going to get better. They're not going to be the worst defense in the NFL. And you have to hope that the offense grows off of what they did last week. They showed promise, albeit against a mediocre, and that's putting it nicely, Cowboys defense. But
that defense is bad, man.
Yeah. It starts with the ground game, though, I think, for the offense. Until they get that going, I think they'll struggle against good defenses.
Yep.
Brian, what's going on, man? Thank you for being a member. Says, how many roughing the passer penalties will be called against the G-Men on set? Well, and Dable
at least three.
Dable actually talked about that today. I think I saw a brief clip of it on Twitter. One of the reporters asked him about, are you worried about that exact scenario, late hit penalties on Pat Mahomes? And he said, yeah, you have to be prepared for that. and they have to be smart. And I'm sure the Giants. Listen, it's like when you went up against Tom Brady. It's like when you play Michael Jordan. Not that I'm saying Pat Mahomes is of that level yet, but
he is.
He's right there, or he's definitely trending that way. Players like that are going to get the benefit of the whistle. It just comes with the territory. It's going to happen. There's going to be 2 or 3 plays in this game where you're like, yep he got that call because he's Pat Mahomes.
Superstar treatment.
Yeah, it's going to happen. But Side Guy, man, thanks for being here, man. And the Giant Spire, good to see you, man. He says, if we lose, but Russ still has a great performance, do you still consider Dart? No, I'm not rushing to put Dart in the game personally. Now, I think these next 2 games will decide if Dart plays week 5.
Agreed.
If the Giants win 1 out of 2, I think they stick with Russ because I think they say to themselves, all right, if we beat the Saints, which we probably should,
2 and 3,
we're still in the thick of it. We could still make possibly a season out of this. If they start 0-4, which on paper they should, if we're being honest, the Chargers are a very good team. The Chiefs are much better than their 0-2 record indicates. I think you see Dart week 5. That's at least how I feel right now. I think an 0-4 start more than likely means that Jackson Dart's the starting quarterback week 5.
That'd be tough because against the Saints, he probably should do well.
Yeah.
But then you look at the 3 games after that: Philly, at Denver, Philly.
Yeah.
I don't know that I want Jackson Dart going through that gauntlet, but he's going to have to do it eventually. And it's not because if we start 0-4, Russ can be great in those games. It's not because of Russ. It's going to be because Dable and Shane are worried about losing their job.
Oh, that's 100% what it is. Yeah. And that's what I said at the beginning of the year, Baddog. When I looked at the schedule, I mean, ideally, I wanted to wait till the bye. At this point, I think it's going to be hard.
No way.
Especially when you factor in we're off to an 0-2 start. Jackson Dart looked impressive in preseason. I think it's going to be very hard for them to push it that far, but I was hoping they'd be able to get through that 3-game stretch that you just stated, because if you bring them in the Saints game, that's the toughest part of our schedule. For a young quarterback, you're inserting them 2 out of 3 games against the Philadelphia Eagles and going to Mile High against one of the best defenses in the league, which somehow Daniel Jones looked good against last week. But Denver has one of the better defenses in the league. Mile High, that's a really tough environment for a rookie quarterback. So that's a tough 3-game stretch if you want to insert Jackson Dart in week 5. And if they start 0-4, though, Baddog, I think it's going to be very hard, because at that point, if you're 0-4, if you start Russ week 5 and you lose and you're 0-5, are you going to start Jackson Dart against the Philadelphia Eagles? And if you don't, well, then you could potentially be looking at like an 0-8 start. And then if Jackson Dart comes in and he looks decent and you win 2 or 3 games, you're losing your jobs anyway, because you're probably going to have the first pick. So I just think the pressure is going to be too hot. If they start 0-4, 1-3, I think that they could still have Russ in there against the Saints. But 0-4, I don't think they're going to be able to not make
it. Because like I said, if you go 1-8, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, you could be looking at 1-7, and
you want to get your thinking about it from Dable's perspective. You want to get your chance. That's your quarterback. You're a quarterback guy. You want to give yourself a chance to be able to retain your job. And I think they both know that Jackson Dart's going to be the guy. If they do keep their job past this year, he's going to be the main reason that they do. So that's why I think sooner than later, he's going to be in the football game as a starting quarterback. I don't think he lasts past week 5 if we start 0-4. I'd be stunned if we start 0-4 if he's not the quarterback.
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll see. And that is a favorable game. But like you said, those next 3, brutal.
Yeah, it's tough because you're not going to pull them out. You're not going to go, okay, start the Saints game up Philadelphia. We're going back to Russ. It's
not happening.
When they make the change, it's for the rest of the year.
Yeah, exactly. Henry says, Mara should pay for all our therapy. This team makes me depressed. I don't know how long I can stand seeing this team saying BS every year. They really fool me.
They got me this year, Harry.
They didn't fool me. I mean, in terms of my expectations for the year, I never thought they were going to win more than 5 or 6 games this year, and I still think they are probably going to win 5 or 6 games. But they got me week 1. They came out a lot worse than I thought they would. I thought they'd be a lot more prepared than that. They actually played better last week than I thought they would. I thought they were going to lose that game by more, but the sour taste, as we've talked about, is the way they lost the game. The defense was not good, but I actually think our defense played better than Dallas's. That's how bad Dallas's defense was. I think the Giants outplayed them in all 3 facets. I think they were better offensively. I think they were better defensively. I think they were better on special teams, but because of the penalty yards and the bad play calling, poor tackling at times, Abdul Carter, don't want to come down too much on the young rookie. ultimately that's what cost us the football game. But it was a game that you felt like you should have won, and especially being against the Dallas Cowboys, you haven't beaten Dak in forever. It felt like a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
And if you
definitely
win
was.
that game, though, you're 1-1 in the division. All of a sudden, you're like, if we could split one of these next 2 games, you're 2-2. You have a very good chance to start the year 3-2. So and now you're 0-2 in the division, and you're where we're used to being.
Yeah, that's a really tough loss for that reason. It's just it's a 2-game swing. Both of those losses are 2-game swings because you now have lost a tiebreaker with each of those teams, and you have the worst record in the division. So now it's a real uphill climb. Like I said, if you're 1-1 in the division, Dallas at that point is 0-2 in the division, and you've beaten Dallas, and now you're on a tiebreaker, and you're tied with Washington. So you'd be tied for second place. And again, you look and go, well, the Giants could have went into this game after a big win in Dallas. It would have been an emotional high. They ain't won in there, like you said, in 8 years they haven't won in Dallas. You fly home, you're 1-1, you're playing a Chiefs team that is not very good right now, and you're going in with a world of confidence saying, all right, we can beat this team. And if somehow you pull it out and you're home opener and you're 2-1, like I said, even if you lose to the Chargers, you look into the Saints going, we should beat them. You're 3-2, and then you have a really tough 3 games, and then it lightens up a little bit. Yeah. And you can work a 3-2. Yeah. But if you're 0-4 or 1-4, and again, you're 0-2 in the division, it's just a big hole to climb out of. And the Giants as a team and a fan base is, instead of, yes, we finally beat Dallas, we're on the way up, we're trending upwards, it's here we go again.
Yeah. Sucks. JC says, I disagree with Tim on Burns, Tibbs, Carter not being good against the run, and mention undersized. Most edge defensive ends are tweeners. Best run defend rusher was JPP. I think we have a great front four.
Well, I just did a show with him. Well, regardless, I think we have a great front four too, but Tim's not wrong. This run defense sucks. It sucks. It's terrible. It's the worst in football. We've given out the most rushing yards in
football for sure. Yes.
So it's very hard to argue. This team's strength is definitely not run defense. It is rushing the passer without question. And that's why we've come down so hard on Shane Bowen, because he doesn't scheme. He doesn't build a game plan around their strength, and he's too conservative. So they got to rush.
I'll tell you what, Baddog, and even
if you're 2nd and 16, Chris, you're not running on 2nd and 16. Yeah, you know what I mean? Or if it's 2nd down and 4 and you sack the quarterback and then 2nd and 11, they're not running on. Or, I'm sorry, 3rd and 11, you're not running on 3rd and 11. But if you're playing back in zone coverage and you let that quarterback in an 8-yard get 2nd down and 2, now you can do whatever the hell you want to. It's tough for defense to stop a team on 2nd down and 2. Everything in the playbook's open.
Yeah. And even Winks last year, the run defense was pitiful. And I'm going to tell you, a guy that I think Giants fans should really realize how underrated a player he was by many in the fan base. Since Leonard Williams is gone, Baddog, this run defense has gone to hell. And I think he was a lot more important to this defense than many realize that we're just looking at the box score.
Yeah, Leo was great. Leo's been great for Seattle.
Our run defense wasn't pitiful when he was here. So he's the one big guy that, isn't here anymore. And since he's left, the run defense has been the worst in football. I mean, they've been pitiful.
Yep.
Bear, thank you so much for being here, man. With Neighbors and Wandell playing good and the defense is focusing on them, who do you think would benefit the most?
Slayton.
You would think. He finally made a really nice catch last week. It was a big, like 30, 40 yards, whatever it was. I think he's only had like 3 targets all year, whatever it was. But you would think, yes, you would think the guy that would benefit the most would be Darius Slayton, maybe Theo Johnson, perhaps. But yeah, you would think Darius Slayton, who I said going into the year, I thought he was going to have a big year. I still think he could have a big year.
I had him 1,000 yards this year.
Yeah, it's only 2 games in. So if Neighbors continues to draw more and more attention, which you have to think he's going to, you would think Darius Slayton is going to benefit from that. Not every team is going to allow Wandell Robinson to run wide open up the seam like he did last week. So you would think Russ is going to pay more attention to the other wide receiver on the outside as the year progresses, or Dart, once he gets into the game.
The one thing I'll say, though, the defense always focuses on Neighbors. That's nothing new.
Yeah.
Wandale has come of age. He had the most receptions against Washington. I think it was 6. It's not like we threw the ball a lot. Maybe Neighbors ended up with more. I don't know. But Neighbors was quiet at the beginning. It was a lot of short passes to Wandale Robinson. who I thought could have a big year just for the simple fact that you do have to honor the 2 outside receivers. And Russ is a guy that throws the ball on time, and Wan'Dale Robinson's a guy that runs after the catch. And he's had a good seasons to start. But I actually have been surprised at the lack of targets Slayton has had. And it simply could be that Malik Neighbors is just open all the time. I mean, he's just that good. And when the guys, I mean, look at every number one receiver. They're all going to get 140 targets. Justin Jefferson's going to get 140 targets. CeeDee Lamb is going to get 140 targets. Trying to think of another really great wide receiver. Those are the first 2 guys.
I don't think you said him, right? Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase, right? He'll get 150 targets. So, yeah.
I mean, Neighbors is the type of receiver he doesn't even need to be open. Like, he's so good that if he has one-on-one coverage, you're giving him an opportunity to go up and catch the football.
Yep.
B-Rog says, again, I saw a lot of bad angles on open field tackles, but Bad Dog mentioned that. I remember the one play as Newman, a horrible angle on an outside run where they picked up probably an extra, 7-8 yards more than they should have because of it. So that's bad coaching. And bad
angles, bad tackling, bad penalties, and it ends up in a bad loss.
Big Moose says, if Rush plays well and we still lose, why would you think Dart would be better? It's not even necessarily that I think he'd be better. I just think they come to the conclusion at that point, we drafted this kid. He's our opportunity out of this. We took our swing. I'm at least going to go down with the swing. That's my mindset. I don't think he's going to come in there and be some savior, if I'm being honest. That's not no knock on Dart. It's that the Giants don't have a great offensive line, and you're not going to play the Dallas Cowboys every week. So, I hope I'm wrong, and he looks incredible, but by no means do I think Dart's going to save this season. But I think he could save their jobs if he plays well enough, and the team wins 4 or 5 games, and he shows some promise. And I think that's why he's going to see the field sooner than what many may have initially anticipated when they first
agreed. I think that's more of them trying to save their jobs. If I'm going to strike out, I want to strike out swinging. I don't want to strike out with the bat on my shoulder. So if they're going to lose their job, they might as well go down swinging with Jackson Dart and say, well, at least if he comes in and say they start 0-4, but they finish 5-12, that's not really a good season by any stretch of the imagination. But if he plays well, you could say, okay, we had a really tough schedule. A rookie looks really good. I'm going to give him another year to build around him. Get him a number 2 wide receiver, build that offensive line even more, and whatever.
I think that's the plan. I mean, obviously they want to win a Super Bowl every year, but I think realistically that's the plan. Be good enough to keep our jobs and have another year to be able to build around Jackson Dart.
And if he absolutely sucks and we go 2-15, then they probably go out anyway, and then Garrett Nussmeier is your quarterback next year, and that's probably what's going to happen.
Hopefully not, but it's a very realistic possibility. Henry says, I think Mara will leave if DJ wins the Super Bowl. I don't. He did, but I'm gonna tell you what, DJ looking good is not doing Brian Dable any favors. He's not doing now. It's not all coaching. A lot of people like to just discount. A lot of people had the arguments, Baddog, for the last couple of years, and it's 2 games. By no means am I saying that Daniel Jones is going to continue this pace. But you posted today on Twitter, that's a different DJ, man, with some of those throws that he's making, the pocket instincts, willing to take the hits that he's taking. But
the way he moved, all I'm saying, honestly, the throws are insane.
Yeah.
The way he moves in the pocket, though, his ability to feel pressure to just sidestep. He's not back there scared. He feels it. He's not running, but it's just, okay, guys, coming. I'm going to move a couple steps to my left and throw the ball. Where the hell was that guy? Where the hell was that guy? I'm just going to move a couple steps to my left and fire a dime and, lead the receiver. Or I'm just going to step up in the pocket and I'm going to throw the ball deep down the field. Where was that? That Daniel Jones and this team was sacked.
I think Daniel Jones mentally was done.
He was.
I think he was done after that injury. And we saw with Eli. It even got to Eli. As great as Eli was, the greatest quarterback in franchise history, should be a Hall of Famer. He got to a point where he had the mental clock because this offensive line just beat him into the ground over the second half of his career. And I think that we got into civil wars on Twitter over the last couple of years arguing what was the primary problem. Was it Daniel Jones? Was it the play caller? Was it the offensive line? Probably a little bit of everything. But for everybody that just said, "Oh, very little to do with the offense," you're out of your mind. He goes to a team that has a decent good offensive line now, and all of a sudden he looks like a good quarterback. It's not a mystery. If you could block, everybody on the team is going to look a lot better, especially the quarterback.
And Shane Steichen knows what the hell he's doing.
Yeah,
that was my thing when I posted that Daniel Jones thing. I just said, "Who's the real quarterback guru?"
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, you know, I'm not going to say what Russ did. What Russ does is no bearing on Brian Daboll. Russ is Russ. The guy don't need coaching. He's already established. He's near the end of his career. He's been a great quarterback, a 10-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, future Hall of Famer. He doesn't need coaching. Jackson Dart's going to. So can Daboll get the most out of him? Because, yeah, Daniel Jones wasn't Brian Daboll's guy, and they didn't do Daniel Jones any favors, but that, even though it's been 2 games, I don't remember Daniel Jones having 2 games in a row back-to-back like that. He showed flashes. He would have a really good game, and then he'd have a really bad game.
He had and this is not to knock Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones was better than, and I think we're starting to see evidence of that. And it's not just Daniel Jones; it's every player that leaves the Giants gets better.
Exactly.
Barkley, Leonard Williams,
Xavier McKinney, Will Hernandez, Eric Flowers.
Yeah. So, but Baddog, in the I think it was 67. Now, maybe I'm getting the number wrong. Check me and correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Daniel Jones started 67 games in the regular season as a New York Giants quarterback. Maybe I'm wrong on that. He only had 5 games in his entire Giants career in the regular season where the team scored 30 points or more. He's been with the Colts for 2 games. They eclipsed 30 the first game. They had 29 the second game, and it was against one of the best defenses in the NFL. He never had a 29-point game with the New York Giants against a defense the caliber of that.
They haven't punted either. They've not punted once this year.
Well, I think they didn't punt. No,
they didn't punt. They didn't punt. I don't think they punted last week. They didn't. They scored on every drive in the first game. I think they got stopped on a 4th down or something, but I don't think they punted. I'll double check that. But I don't think they punted in that game. They just didn't score on every drive. Let me see if I go to team stats.
You might.
Nope, they didn't. They didn't punt.
They haven't punted once yet.
They have not punted once. I don't think they scored in every drive.
Wow.
Against Denver. They scored in every drive against Miami, but no, they didn't punt. They have not punted one time this year.
That's crazy. So they must have had like a 4th down turnover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big Blue Boy says, "What's up, boys? I don't have us winning another game." I disagree. I think we will win some games. I think the defense will be a lot better than what we've seen the first 2 weeks. I don't know how many games we're going to win, but I don't think we're going to go winless. DJ Success makes it clear we have no football IQ in the organization since Wellington died. I mean, DJ's, and again, it's 2 games. We'll see. We got a long football season ahead of us. But the way that DJ's looked thus far just proves what I and most Giant fans have said over, and Baddog as well, over the last 10 years, 12 years. The offensive line has been the biggest problem for this football team. You said, I mean, Daniel Jones looks like a different quarterback. Saquon Barkley looks like a different running back. As good as Saquon Barkley looked with the New York Giants at times, and he was great, he wasn't the best player in the NFL. He goes to the Eagles. He's the best player, NFL Offensive Player of the Year. So the offensive line's always been the biggest problem, and hopefully it's getting better. You know, at least you saw some promise with Bo last week. Hopefully he's a long-term piece for this team. But, of course, Andrew Thomas, major question mark. And he's the biggest storyline, and we haven't even gotten into him in this podcast yet for the most part. He's going to play his first game, or it looks that way. It's not definitive yet. But on the injury report, he wasn't even listed as doubtful. I think he was listed as questionable. And it appears he's going.
He practiced a lot this week.
So I'm expecting Andrew Thomas to be out there this week. Now, I'm not going to set my expectations sky high. You're talking about a guy that hasn't played football in about a year. He didn't even get, really a lot of training camp reps for the most part. So I expect him to be a bit,
rusty,
mediocre, rusty for the first probably 2 or 3 weeks. Probably even more of a reason not to rush Jackson Dart in there until you get Andrew Thomas ready and the real Andrew Thomas out there. But regardless, he's got to get some game reps in. So it's great to see Andrew Thomas back in the lineup. The Giants, I think it's 3-17 or 3-16 now. The last 19 or 20 games when Andrew Thomas doesn't play. So we all know how important he is to this football team. I mean, come on.
It's not good. It's ugly, man.
Yeah.
It is ugly without question.
Mr. Cheesecake says, why do you think Hyatt doesn't play? At least have him run a go route to stretch the defense, even if you don't throw to him. I mean, I'm not in the locker room. We're not in the locker room. We don't know all the ins and outs. We don't know if he's in the doghouse. We don't know. And maybe they just don't think he's very good. If we're being honest, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But what I will tell you is Mr. Cheesecake, and I've said this countless times, the second they signed Darius Slayton to that contract, I knew what they felt about Jalen Hyatt. You wouldn't a team with as many holes as we have on this roster, specifically on the offensive line, to allocate that much money to Darius Slayton. And I was in favor of the contract. I liked the contract. I was surprised that Slayton came back. $12 million in today's NFL is not a ton for a starting wide receiver. But when you could have been paying Jalen Hyatt $1 million to fill that void for the next couple of years, that was clearly the plan when you traded up in the third round to draft him. The fact that they brought Darius Slayton back on a $12 million a year contract told me everything that I needed to know about how they felt about Jalen Hyatt going into year 3. If they were high on Jalen Hyatt, Darius Slayton's not still with the New York Giants. It's as simple as that.
Yep, agreed. That's why I'm like, on Twitter, every time I see something about Odell Beckham, I'm like, why don't the Giants bring him back? Like, oh, why would you do that? Why would you? I'm like, well, Hyatt's just standing on the sideline. Beckham can do that.
Yeah.
Hell, Beckham's got experience. Beckham was one of the best wide receivers in football for 4 years.
Yeah.
He looked like he was going to be the greatest Giants wide receiver of all time before injuries hit him. But I feel like if nothing else, he can give you some leadership and some experience. Hyatt can't do that. So, just give me an extra coach. Because Beckham could say, I have as many snaps, and you have as many snaps this year as Jalen Hyatt. So why not? And Beckham's even said, listen, I'm not looking for 15 targets a game. I just want to play. So listen, I've been saying this ever since he was traded. I manifested. At some point, this guy needs to be a Giant. Seriously.
My prediction with Beckham is he will do. I think OC did it, if I'm not mistaken. Several Giants players have done it. I think he'll sign a 1-day contract with the Giants and retire.
Just bring him on a damn team.
I don't think he's ever going to play again as a Giant.
But bring him on a damn team. We have nothing else to root for anyway, so bring him back. We brought Nick's back at the end of his career. We brought Jacobs back at the end of his career. Why not? I'm
not against it. I just
he can't be any less productive than Jalen Hyatt.
Well, that's true.
What the hell? We still get some juice in the fan base because a lot of the younger fans, that's all they know. That was the best thing they saw was Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley. And now Saquon Barkley sleeps with the enemy, and he'll never be a Giant again.
No,
and he left a bad taste in Giants because he chose to leave. Beckham didn't choose to leave.
Yeah.
So
I hate because I loved Saquon so much. I hate when I turn on an Eagles game and I see him wearing that uniform.
Yeah, no, it's disgusting.
I hate it.
It's gross.
Let's see. Cut Hyatt, I doubt that happens, but I understand why people would, are calling for it. I get it. He's a fan favorite. He's a great all-time great.
He can't produce any less.
Yeah. I just
don't. Ain't about money for Beckham either. You can bring him on a league veteran minimum, I'm sure. He ain't going to be looking for $15 million a year. So whatever the veteran minimum is, was it $3 million, whatever? Give it to him.
And Michael says, at this point, yeah, you're right. At this point, 2 games in, he's got 3 targets. So, yes, I agree.
Easy, Chris. Don't
yeah, I'm not calling him a joke. I still think it was a decent contract when you look at what $12 million for a wide receiver in today's NFL is not a lot. It's just not for a starting caliber wide receiver. And I still think he's a starting caliber wide receiver. I don't think he's a number 2, not on a good offense, a very good offense. But I think he's a solid, good wide receiver. And I think he would have gotten $12 million somewhere else. I think he's a capable wide receiver. And that's what capable wide receivers get paid in today's market, Baddog. You see the elite receivers getting $40 million a year. Or at least close to it. That's quarterback money. So, and then high-level 2s probably get $25 to $30 million a year. Yeah. So I don't think the contract was atrocious. But so far, of course, with the production he's given, it looks like a very bad contract so far.
There's going to be games where Slayton's going to be he's going to have good games. He's shown it in the past.
Yeah.
There's going to be games where he's going to have 7 catches for 112 yards and a touchdown. That's going to happen. He's too good. The thing with Slayton is the reason he's not like to me, like a pure number 2 and definitely not a number 1 receiver. He has the ability to have a big game, but it's not consistent. Like he's not going to be like a Malik Neighbors or a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, a guy that is going to get 14 targets a game because, number 1, either he's open all the time or like Chris mentioned earlier, you take your chances with those elite receivers that are one-on-one. You figure they can come back to the back shoulder throw, they can win a jump ball, whatever it is. Your CeeDee Lambs, your Justin Jeffersons, your Jamar Chases. That's why those guys end up with the numbers they do, because they're just special. Slayton can have those games, but he's not going to do it on a consistent basis. That's what makes him a number 2 or a 2B receiver. And again, it's not a knock on Slayton. I think $12 million is worth it, but Slayton might be open too, but he just might not be Russ's first read. And when your first read is Neighbors and he's wide open, why would you go through progressions? If your first read's wide open, you're going there.
Yeah.
So on a lot of plays, it could just be the play calling where Slayton's not the initial target and it's Wandale or it's, they've been open a lot this year. And I think that's why Slayton hasn't got the targets. I don't think it's because Slayton's not open. I think it's because that's not his first read, and his first reads have been wide open, and that's where he's going with the football.
Yeah.
And to be fair, if Slayton's his third option, this line don't give Russ any time.
Yeah.
So can you even get to your third option?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. But I don't think they plan to not use Slayton all year. They paid him for a reason.
I agree.
They expect him to be a part of this offense, and we still got 15 more games to go. And he's the type of receiver, like you said, he's not going to give it to you every week, which is why he's not a number 1 wide receiver. Right. But he'll have his 3 or 4 games this year where he has 70 yards, 80 yards, and a touchdown. It's going to happen. He's a solid, good wide receiver, and I do think he'll be more involved as the year progresses.
Yep.
Let's see. We're gonna lose. More than likely, if we're being honest. We're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. It's gonna be a tough game to win, but I do think we'll keep it competitive. I don't expect us to get blown out. But what do I know? I thought we'd keep the Washington game competitive, and they blew our doors off. It game was not even as close as the final score indicated. So, we'll find out on Sunday night. I just hope it's a competitive game. And I think it will be. I think the Giants are going to keep this game at least within striking distance going.
Yeah, I don't think Kansas City's going to get away from us. And I also think that if either one of these teams goes down by 2 scores, it's probably going to be very tough for either one to come back because neither one of the Giants have definitely, again, it was against Dallas, but they've definitely shown the propensity for more explosive plays. We definitely have more explosive players on our offensive side of the football than Kansas City does. Without question. They don't have an explosive guy. Yeah. We have 3 because I still think
Worthy, but I don't know if he's playing in this game, but Worthy's explosive. But
he is, but how effective is he going to be if he's injured, or banged up? I don't really know what his. I think he's questionable.
He's questionable.
So who knows? But also their line's not very good. So Shane Bowen has said, I made a mistake. I second-guessed myself. Well, let's see. Stop talking about shit. We hear them talk. Do something about it. Don't talk about it. And then in the post-game go, I second-guessed. I did that wrong. I shouldn't have done that. So when you're saying you shouldn't do it, don't come out in the next game and do it again. I shouldn't have done that. Good, then change it the next game. If you actually recognize the problem, change it.
Yeah.
We had no business. Putting up 37 points, you should never lose a football game.
Should never lose a football game.
Especially with the defense we have on paper. That shit should not happen.
Yeah, I don't care. I know Dallas has probably a top 7-8 offense in the league. No excuses. You should not lose that game. JC says, I didn't listen to it, so I can't really comment, but he says, Tim also trashed Drew Phillips at Flott. No one ever said they were shut down corners, plus Lemon Pickett's are good. Flott is good. And I thought Flott played well in that game. I mean, I didn't watch every single snap that he played and watching all 22, but I didn't leave that game thinking that Flott didn't play well. I thought he played relatively well. Like you said, he's a 3rd-round pick. You don't expect him to be a lockdown number 1 corner, and you're going up against one of the better receiving cores in the league. I actually thought Flott had a solid performance week 2 for the New York Giants. And Phillips is solid in the slot. He's physical. I wouldn't trash that. There's plenty of guys that you can trash on this defense. Deonte Banks being one of them. As much as I have hope for him and still think he could be a good player in the league, those 2 I don't think are worthy of attacking, at least right now.
Yeah, I think Flott's had a decent year, without question. And I don't think Tim was trashing Drew Phillips. All he was talking about is the stats where he was talking about completed passes against him. Like they are able to complete passes against him. The reason we love Drew Phillips is because he's a good tackler. and we don't have a lot of good tacklers. And he's physical, and he plays hard, and fans love those type of players. New York fans love those. So I would love Cam Scatterbo, right? I told you I'm buying a Scatterbo jersey. Actually, I'm stupid. I'm buying a new. I'm dumb. I'm buying another New York Giants hat, buying a New York Giants jacket, and buying a Scatterbo jersey. So I'm going to spend $220 on Giants gear because I'm a fucking idiot. Because I'm like, I love Cam. You love those guys. So again, I don't think he was trashing Phillips, but I think he's got a point when he says people think Drew Phillips is he doesn't think Drew Phillips is a great cornerback, and he's not. Yeah, maybe he can be. But again, I think he was just talking about passes completed against him, and that's why he has as many tackles. And he said he's a good tackler and he's a physical corner, but he was just talking about, your job as a corner is not to allow,
of course,
completions. So I think that's
my biggest disappointment. And it's only 2 weeks in, but my biggest disappointment in that secondary thus far has been Newman.
Absolutely, it's been terrible.
He was a guy that I still think could take a massive leap this year. But if I'm gonna call out a guy in that secondary so far this year, I mean, I don't think Adebo's been particularly good for the amount of money that we paid him either. But I think Newman would be the guy that I'd be calling out the most through 2 weeks.
He had a terrible game. Bad angle, missed tackle on the Williams touchdown, blown coverage on the Pickens touchdown. He was horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible in that game. And he has had a bad year. And my odd take was this guy was going to lead the Giants in interceptions. He was getting more interceptions than the Giants had all last year.
Yeah.
And not off to a good start.
He had a couple of plays last week, though, where he was this close to an interception. He had like 2 or 3 plays where there were like deflected balls where he was close. So I do think he's going to come up with some picks.
I do too, but he's going to play better. We need him.
Man. Oh, 100%. He's been disappointing so far. Tree says Spags is a level. He's 3 levels above Kafka. He's 5 levels above Kafka. Spags is
really. I mean, they're not.
Spags is a Hall of Fame caliber defensive coordinator.
Right. You're comparing offense and defensive coordinators there. I don't really.
Well, yeah. But I guess that's the matchup, right? Offense versus defense. But that's our biggest. That's where they destroy us in this game, if we're being honest. The Kansas City Chiefs coaching staff is
coaching staff is way better.
Destroys us. I mean, obviously, right? Andy Reid versus Brian Dable, Spags, Kafka. We get it. Like that's going to be
they're all Hall of Famers.
Yeah, that's good. And Shane Bowen versus Andy Reid. Are you kidding me? So, we that's if we're gonna get blown out, I think it's gonna be because of coaching.
We'll definitely get out coached in that game.
Yeah. So that to me is
Andy Reid out coaches many. He's one of the greatest coaches ever.
Yeah. Let's see. Adebo definitely. Yeah, Adebo's been disappointing so far for me, and it's early, but he's been disappointing.
He's coming off an injury too, so God only knows how healthy he is. He had a broken leg last year, so
he House says, how did we let Spagnuolo get away? Simple,
which is weird.
We chose to go with Ben McAdoo as the head coach over Spags, and I think the reason for that was it was sound. Obviously, Eli Manning had 2 really good statistical years.
Wasn't Spags our defensive coordinator here? And didn't he take over? Wasn't he the interim head coach when McAdoo?
He was the interim. Yeah, but I when they announced that McAdoo was going to be the coach, I thought Spags was
gotcha. He should have been.
I thought it was an opportunity to make Spags the head coach instead of.
He wasn't a very good head coach because he went to the Rams.
Not with the Rams, he wasn't. No.
Yeah. Some guys are meant to be coordinators.
Yeah,
I think he's one of them.
I always wanted to see him get another opportunity though to be a head coach somewhere. I did because he didn't have a very good team with the Rams. And now to be fair, they quickly turned it around when they got McVay.
Yeah,
but. I would have liked to see him get another opportunity. Let's see. Yeah, I know he was for that game or 2, but I was talking about when we hired McAdoo. I thought that was at least an opening where Spags could have became the head coach. But obviously, we all understood why they chose McAdoo. Eli had 2 great statistical years, and they wanted to keep growing with that offense. So you understood why. It just obviously didn't pan out.
Yeah.
Let's see. What are the chances of Antonio Pierce being the defensive coordinator next year? I have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, it'd be cool. I'm sure if we're looking for a defensive coordinator, which we should be, he'll be a guy that we bring in for an interview. I'm sure. If he doesn't have a head coaching job somewhere else, he's a possibility. But it's all going to come down to who's the head coach. Is Dable still the head coach? You don't know. So who's the general manager? There's a lot that goes into that. But obviously, Pierce would be a fan favorite to hire as the DC. We get it. Former player, one of my all-time favorite New York Giants. The last great middle linebacker we had, in my opinion, for at least an extended period of time. Yeah, I mean, Baddog on that Super Bowl defense, he was the best non-pass rusher on that defense, right? Had to have been, right?
Yep.
I mean, you could argue Antrell Roll for the second one. You could argue
really good.
Yeah. Corey Webster. I think he was the best non-pass rusher on those defenses. And
Antrell Roll was a beast.
He was great. Yeah, he was great. But I love Antonio Pierce. I've always loved Antonio Pierce. That's one of the greatest free agent signings in Giants history. We got him from the Redskins. Well, now they're the Commanders, but that's among one of the greatest free agent signings in Giants history, along with Plaxico Burress, and they were both around the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is or who they would hire, but I mean, does anybody? The problem is Shane Bowen was not their first pick. A lot of guys turned this gig down, and when you're looking at a head coach that could be a lame duck head coach, who's going to want to come in and take that job, knowing that if they have a bad year and the coach and the GM are fired, you're going too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why Bowen's still here. But I feel like if Dable feels like he needs to throw a body under the bus to keep from getting hit by said bus,
He's the obvious target.
It'll be Bowen.
Yeah.
I mean, if he had no problem firing Wink, then he's got no problem firing Bowen.
Yeah. Which Super Bowl did Reggie Torbor play in? He was a difference maker. Reggie, was it the 07 one, I think? Or was it?
I don't even remember that.
I don't remember.
I remember the name, but I don't know what he did.
Yeah, I think it was 07. I could be wrong, but yeah,
I remember Kavika Mitchell was really good for us.
Kavika Mitchell was fantastic. Another great free agent pickup. We got him from, I think, the Bills, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he was great. Let's see. What's up, Doggy Man? Thanks for popping in.
Yep.
Since we're short on linebackers, you think we do more 3 safety looks might help with Kelsey?
He should.
Yeah, I do. I think I would think that you would, especially with Kelsey in the lineup. We know
we should see more Dane Belton for sure in this game.
Even though Kelsey's not near what he was, Bobby
Okereke is not a good cover linebacker.
Not a good cover linebacker.
That's the problem there.
Yeah, I would like to see more 3 safety looks in this game.
Yeah, because I don't think you need to really worry about the running game. It hasn't been good. So you don't need to have you could have an extra cornerback out there. I think playing nickel is probably a good thing against Kansas City.
Yeah. Honestly. If you're a Chiefs fan,
that's not the Eagles. You ain't going to worry about them going for 200 yards. It's not the way they play anyway.
If you're the Chiefs fan, though, I think this is a game, thinking from a Chiefs fan's perspective, this is a game where you want to get Isaiah Pacheco going. Mm-hmm. You know, the run offense has been really bad, but knowing how bad the Giants' run defense is, I would be surprised if the Chiefs don't try to run a lot in this game to start to get that running game going for that offense. I expect them to do it. I expect them to do it. Because if there was ever a team, not trying to slam our team, guys, but if there was ever a team thinking about it from the opponent's perspective where you're going to be able to get your running game back on track and get that offense, more balanced, it would be this one. So I think Pacheco is going to be used a lot in this football game.
Yeah, I can see it.
Let's see. Larry says, are there any options to bring in a linebacker, old defensive position? They just brought in one. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they said he's going to play this week. Somebody in the chat let me know. I forgot who it was, but they just brought in one. But, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, Baddog, if you're bringing in a linebacker.
That's because Muasau's hurt too now, right? So we don't have a linebacker.
Yeah, Muasau's hurt. If you're bringing in anybody off free agency at this point, you're not getting a super impact player. Let's be honest. They're gonna Bozeman. There you go. Yeah, he's gonna play this week too. Murdoch says,
"Oh, I know another guy that got really good after we let him go. Who's the guy that had double-digit sacks for us? Marcus Golden. Didn't he get a lot better after he left? Here's another guy.
He might have been good for 1 year. I think I don't think he was great for an extended period of time. But yeah, I think he might have had one good year.
And then we passed on Hassan Reddick. That was another good move.
Yeah. Murdoch says JPP got he had a couple of really good years with the Bucks to end his career too after we traded him. Murdoch says Dable didn't fire Wink. Dable was scared of Wink, so he fired his assistant, and Wink told him to F off. Dable is a weak boss. I mean, there was clearly division within the coaching staff. That's clearly.
Well, Wink wasn't going to last. We knew that. So,
and that's been a reoccurring theme. Remember Joe Judge? He had the problem with Mark Colombo, the offensive line coach. That's been a reoccurring theme with the Giants. There has been like wars from within this coaching staff over the last couple of regimes. Not so much last year, but obviously Wink and Dable, for that to hit the press the way that it did, there was something there for sure. And that's why they ultimately moved on from Wink. I know that they fired the assistant, but they fired the assistant knowing that Wink was going to leave. So it was a move. It was a move to get Wink to
right.
leave.
I mean, it doesn't always when you're losing, it's easy to have those blowups. But it's not always because you lose. Sometimes you just have strong-willed minds. I mean, Dave Bears, Ditka and Buddy Ryan hated each other. Still one of the greatest teams of all time.
Yeah,
they did not like each other at all. That's why Buddy Ryan went to the Eagles the next year. I mean, that was the end of that. They hated each other. So you can still win football games, but I think when you're losing, it's definitely magnified more, especially today's age with social media all over the place and 600 networks broadcasting everything instead of 610 13 and the local channels. Those are my local channels, ABC, NBC, and CBS, Fox, and ESPN. That's really all you had back. And actually, I don't even think Fox wasn't covering football. Neither was ABC did Monday Night Football. So you had like 4 channels covering the NFL in '85. So definitely not as big. Things really, as soon as somebody says something, it goes over here, and then it's spread like wildfire. Yep. That shit didn't happen in the '80s.
No, it's a different animal now with social media and everything. J Fed says Mets, big win for the Mets. I still don't have any confidence with them in the playoffs, but at least it's nice to see that they probably won't blow this lead down.
Yeah, I jinxed the Yankees, man. I DM'd A-Rod the other day, and I was like, maybe it's just me being a fan, but I go, the Yankees are starting to trick me. And I'm like, I don't know what I still could see them making a boneheaded error, and I don't trust their bullpen. And he said, well, it's nice that they're beating bad teams. And I said, that's right. Well, because I still don't believe either or whatever, I still got to see what they do against better teams. And I said, yeah, we'll get a look at 2 weeks because the Yankees are going to make the postseason. And then, of course, they lose tonight. And I'm like, I spoke too soon. Of course.
That's going to be, if I was a Yankees fan going into the playoffs, and I do think you guys have a good chance to advance, but just because I don't think the American League is very good, if I'm being honest. But my biggest worry is your bullpen. I mean, I heard the stat the other day. The Yankees have they're in the 20s, the mid 20s in terms of bullpen ERA.
Terrible.
That's what you got to worry about going into the playoffs for sure.
It's a bad pen.
Wyatt says Dable won Coach of the Year, and that blew up his ego. Yeah, well, I mean, I remember, not that I was predicting it was going to happen, and the book hasn't been written yet on Dable. He still may end up being a great coach and turning around. We still got, we'll see how it plays out this year. But I remember after his first year, I said, the second year when they got off to a slow start, I said, think about Eric Mangini, his first year with the Jets. It was very similar. He went into a situation where they thought the Jets were going to be awful that year. He had the nickname Eric Mangenius. He was the toast of the town. He may have even won Coach of the Year. I don't remember. If he didn't, he certainly was in the running for it. I think they won 9 or 10 games his first year. I think they made the playoffs. Everybody was like, oh, you stole Mangini from the Patriots. You got this mastermind. And then 2 years later, he was off the team because the team just fell apart. So things happen quick in the NFL, Baddog. You could be the toast of the town one year, and you're fired 2 or 3 years later. So it's very hard to predict, especially young coaches. And same thing with the Knicks. Look, and not that Thibodeau did a bad job with the Knicks. Of course, they went to the finals. He was, did a tremendous job with the Knicks. But same thing. He won Coach of the Year, 2-3 years ago, whatever it was, and he's now looking for a job. So, I mean, just because you won Coach of the Year.
Happening in a New York minute here, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can be the toast of a town, and then you can be shit the next day, or vice versa.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens that fast. The Giants right now, everybody's down on Bowen and Dable. I mean, you find a way to go 5-3. You end up 5-3 after 8 games. Shit's way different.
Yeah.
So winning cures all.
And if the Giants do end up getting another coach next year, and I don't even want to think about this because we got 15 more games to go, and I'm hoping, Dable turns this around and we have something to build off of going into next year. That's still what I'm hoping happens. But if the Giants do go that route, Bad Dog, I want an established coach at this point. I don't want like this offensive coordinator or I want a guy that's done it before. I want a Mike Vrabel type. I don't know who it is, but that's what I want. I don't want an experiment as a head coach. I want you to bring in a Jim Harbaugh, not him specifically, but a guy
I still can't believe they didn't hire him, man.
Hey, look, I showed you the audio. I showed you the audio. So Jim Harbaugh wanted to be a Giant in 2020. He wanted to be a Giant. But obviously, we can't live in the past.
I know.
But if he became the Giants head coach, things would be completely different.
Yep.
Completely different. What's up, Katrik, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. Good to see you, Katrik. Love Katrik. Big Saquon guy. Well, hopefully not anymore now that he's an Eagle, but he used to be.
Yeah.
There's a reason they're saying a New York minute, no patience, and things change fast. That's
where we are.
That's New York, man.
Things move very fast in New York, man.
You don't want to wait 5 seconds for a cab. You don't want to wait 2 minutes for your pancakes. Yep. That's New York, man.
Yep, that is.
Yeah, I thought he was 2007, Brian. Yeah, Torbor. Let's see. Gruden. I don't love the Gruden idea. I know a lot of people bring up Gruden, and I get it. Naturally, they see what he said about Jackson Dart. He's known as the quarterback guy in terms of the film reviews. I get it. He's been out of the league for so long.
Game's changed, man.
To me, it just feels so much like Bill Cowher when Giants fans were calling for him 15, 20 years after he was out of the league. Every year, people would say, "Oh, bring in Bill Cowher," but it feels very similar to that for me. I'm not a fan of the idea of a John Gruden at this point.
Yeah, like I said, a coach I would love is Cliff Kingsbury. I think that would be good because he's been a head coach. He's definitely worked with some really good quarterbacks. Yeah, obviously, he's worked with Caleb Williams at USC. He worked with Baker Mayfield. He worked with Kyler Murray. And now he's got Jaden Daniels. So you have a young quarterback like Jackson Dart. That's a guy I could see getting the most out of Jackson Dart.
He's an option for sure.
You're taking him away from your division rival, which I love.
But I want a coach. I want a head coach. I want
he's been a head coach.
I know. I'm not saying I don't want him, but that's my first qualification. I don't want an offensive coordinator who's never been a head coach. I don't want and not to say that can't work out. It certainly could, but you got to do something different. You got to do something different. I want somebody with some credentials that's done it before. Let's see. Big Boo Boy says, I appreciate y'all keeping a modicum of positivity. I wish I could. I don't even know if I would call it positivity. I'm just not. I think the team's going to get better, but I don't think we're going to be very good. I know, I
know where to go but up.
Yeah, I never expected playoffs before the year started. I still, obviously, now I don't for sure after an 0-2 start in the division. But I think this team is going to get better as the year goes along. I think they're going to get better. There's no way this defense is going to be this bad all year. There's no way.
It can't be.
No way. There's too much talent on with the pass rush. There's just too much talent. So that's going to get better. They may not reach what we were hoping they would. We were talking top 10 defense for sure on paper. They should be with that pass rush, and I don't know if I see that at this point. But you never know, though, Bad Dog. Like you think, but not that I'm comparing it because that's just silly to compare it. It's just dumb because Spagnuolo is one of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time, and the Giants had more talent on that defense than we have on this one. But you think back to the Spags defense. The Giants were like the worst defense in football the first 2 weeks that year. They gave up 80 points.
80 points, yep.
The first 2 weeks. So, sometimes it takes a few weeks for the defense to really hit their stride. So I haven't given up on the defense. I think they're going to get a lot better. I don't necessarily think they're going to be all world, but I think they're going to get a lot better. And I think
Bowen's got to stop playing that soft zone and be more aggressive, man. Yeah. You got to trust your guys. Yeah. You got to trust your guys, man.
Yeah. So we'll see. Let's see. JC says Carl Banks basically called out defense coach not good. I didn't see what Carl had to say. I missed it.
I think Carl's just kind of saying the same thing, that he's not really playing to their strength, if anything. That you need to be rushing the passer. That's what these guys do the best. Yeah. And I think anybody that knows anything about football, knew that was the wrong defense to call in that situation. If it's the Washington Commanders kicker, if it's Matt Gay kicking, fine. You can give him that. But that's not, man. That's Aubrey. And that guy can kick the ball a mile. You have to know
And
your players.
the thing is, you didn't even need to blitz in that spot. Like, I understand not blitzing there, but you needed to
bring the corners up close to the line.
You needed to press them at the line just to give your pass rushers an opportunity. I'm completely for only sending 4 in that spot, right? You want max coverage in that spot, but there's a way to do it. You have to give your pass rushers an opportunity to get to the quarterback. And if not, at least make Dak throw the ball by playing man press before they get 15, 20 yards up the field.
Right.
Make it an 8 or 9 yard gain as opposed to a, so
18 yards, right.
Yeah, so that it was an obvious mistake on his part. We all knew it the second that we saw him play in zone. Let's see. Les says third time is the charm and in front of the home crowd.
So.
Let's hope so is right.
Let's hope so, man. We need it.
And Larry says, if you've ever seen the channel Football Analysis, I think that, if I'm not mistaken, Bad Dog, I think that was the channel that you retweeted today. I think I saw that in the corner. Maybe I'm wrong on that, with the Daniel Jones highlights. I think it was. Maybe I'm wrong. But I haven't seen the channel. But I think that was his clip. If you've ever seen the channel Football Analysis, he said about Bowen, a prevent defense prevents wins, which is true. Look at the Dallas game. There's a time and a place for a prevent defense. That was not it.
Like I said, if they needed a touchdown, that's when you play that defense.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get beat over the top.
Yeah.
That's when you play a defense, but not when a field goal ties and the guy can kick at 65 yards.
Yeah. Yeah. That just wasn't it. That wasn't the time. Let's see. Garrett from Football Analysis does a really good job at breaking down football and makes great. I'll have to check him out. But I do think that was his clip. I could be wrong on that, though.
That clip, it says NFL Draft Files.
Oh, my mistake then. My mistake. Let's see. I've heard of the channel, though. I don't think I've watched it, though. Tree says, in MetLife, that situation, maybe not in Dallas. No, I don't think in either scenario. And I get what you're saying, because obviously Dallas is a more favorable spot for a kicker, being that it's basically a dome. But with Aubrey, no, in either situation, I think Aubrey could make it from 65 at MetLife, too. He's got a huge leg, man. It was the wrong team to do that against. What's going on, Jeremy? Man, thanks for popping in the stream, man. John in the chat, man. Mets got a big win for us tonight. I know you're a Met fan. But, Bad Dog, we're going to close it out, right? I mean, it's 10:15. It's late. Friday night. Lights are bright. But we'll be back live on Bad Dogs. The 8 o'clock start, I'm assuming. So we'll be live at 7:30.
7:30, 7:45, somewhere there.
No, 8:15 start probably, right? So, 7:45 we'll be live.
Ready to kick some ass.
Must-win game. Bad Dog, how many night games? How many games have they won in night games since we've been doing this? Maybe one? I remember they won a night game before I started calling games with you against the 49ers. I actually called that game with Pizzle, which I think that was my first live stream I ever did. Pizzle came on my channel when Nick Mullins was the quarterback for the 49ers that game. That was a primetime game they won. They tied Washington, I think it was, right, on a primetime game.
Yep.
Have they won a primetime game?
I don't know that they have, because Daniel Jones only won one primetime game. Actually, he might not have won any.
What did they win? I can't recall. Did they win the primetime game against Washington and tie the non-primetime game, or was it? I don't remember.
Maybe they won. He only won one. He was like 1-17, so I don't think we did.
Oh, the Packers. We won the Packers.
Oh, no, Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito when you saw his dad. Yeah, okay.
That's right. That's right.
It almost didn't feel like a win because the season was over. But okay, so they've won one.
So far and few in between. It's just crazy.
But Larry, man, thank you so much, man, for the incredible generosity. Appreciate it, man. And 4-12, even when they were good, Bad Dog, and I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but even when the Giants were good, when Eli, his first half of his career, even then, I feel like, now obviously we weren't nearly this bad on primetime.
Right. No.
But even then, I feel like we weren't great on primetime.
I don't know. I remember killing the shit out of the Bears, or the Giants had like 9 sacks in the first half. I remember whooping the Eagles' ass on primetime in 2008.
Oh, the 7 sacks by Osi.
We beat Dallas in their stadium opener. That was a primetime game. I know he won quite a few.
I remember we had a opening night primetime. I don't remember what year it was, but they opened against Stafford and the Lions on primetime and they lost. And it was it was a game I thought they were going to win because the Lions weren't supposed to be great going into the year. I remember that. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But I never feel like the Giants are good on primetime. But obviously in recent history they've been.
I think since 2013 they've been shit, and
Yeah.
I think before that it was
decent.
But as Eli got to the second half of his career and the team started to deteriorate around him, we started to lose a lot of games, not just on primetime, but obviously in primetime as well.
Yeah. But guys, have a great rest of your night. We'll see you guys Sunday. Appreciate all you guys. Let's get the win. Let's go Giants. Have a good night.
Giants. Later. Peace.
There you go.